in New Jersey, I think is starting to be removed today at 10 a.m. by Hakeem Jeffries and a bunch of judges in New Jersey. Mike Davis joins us. Mike, explain to the audience what's going on, because this is quite confusing situation. She's there on an interim basis, I guess, an acting basis, been doing a great job. How is she being removed by these kind of radical neo-Marxist judges, federal judges in New Jersey, working with Hakeem Jeffries, sir?
Yes, U.S. attorneys are generally nominated by the president in consultation with the home state senators through the blue slips, where the home state senators have a veto over the U.S. attorney nomination because they want to be able to hand select the prosecutor who would prosecute their corruption case, the district court judge who would oversee their corruption case, and the U.S. Marshal that would escort them to prison. But that's not going away. That's been around for over 100 years. That's nonsense called the blue slip. But regardless, the president, through his attorney general, can appoint a U.S. attorney for 120 days. We saw this with Judge Jeanine Pirro in D.C. We saw this with Alina Habba in New Jersey. We saw this with other U.S. attorneys around the country. And then after that 120-day appointment, if the U.S. attorney is not nominated and confirmed by the Senate, there's a statute, I think it's unconstitutional, but there's a statute that lets the district court judges in the district where the U.S. attorney rules, they get a pick. They get a vote to pick whether the U.S. attorney stays or goes. In the past, this is generally that these judges have generally been very deferential to the attorney general and the president because this is a U.S. attorney. It's the chief law enforcement officer of that district. Well, we're seeing a precedent set in this Trump 47 administration where these Democrat activist judges, whether they're in New York or now New Jersey, are trying to fire these U.S. attorneys. They're voting to fire. In New Jersey, there are 17 district court judges. 15 of them are appointed by Barack Obama and Joe Biden. So at 10 o'clock this morning, right now, they're meeting to decide to vote whether to get rid of Alina Habba. And this is after House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries posted a post on X a couple days ago calling for these 17 New Jersey district court judges to get rid of Alina Habba. And the reason? Because Alina Habba indicted a House Democrat member who allegedly assaulted federal immigration officers. So this is purely political by Hakeem Jeffries. So I just last night filed a House ethics complaint from the Article 3 project against Hakeem Jeffries because he is trying to get these 17 New Jersey federal judges to violate their judicial ethics. Canons 2, 3, and 5 of the Code of Conduct for United States judges makes it illegal for judges to make the political considerations that Hakeem Jeffries has urged them to make by firing U.S. Attorney Alina Habba because she brought an indictment against a Democrat House member for allegedly assaulting a federal ICE agent. So we'll see what happens today. That ethics complaint's going to go against Hakeem Jeffries. That's in the process. And I would say to these 17 district court judges in New Jersey, if they follow Hakeem Jeffries' recommendation and fire U.S. Attorney Alina Habba today, they will also face judicial misconduct complaints, 17 of them from the Article 3 project.
But this is part of this is that we haven't called in the district judges in D.C. to be deposed openly in front of the American people. Anyway, Mike, stick around. We got to get to the situation. You had a coup. This, quite frankly, is about who governs us. Is when someone's elected to the office of the president with the powers of the presidency that you've done such an incredible job at Article 3, buttressing and saying in that interregnum we had for those number of years working with Project 2025 and Russ Vogt and others to say, hey, he's chief executive officer of the United States. He can impound money. The Impoundment Act of during Nixon, the distress of Nixon is is illegitimate. He's the CEO. He can fire people, cut money. He's commander in chief. He has almost unlimited powers as commander in chief, and then he's the chief magistrate, chief law enforcement officer. Now we're finding this is where the rubber hits the road, because Kennedy was taken out in an assassination. Nixon was really a judicial coup with the CIA and FBI, but Judge Sirica, the House, the lawyers at the House, if you read Jeff Shepard's 2 books, it's stunning of how the radical judiciary, and that started this whole process of hiving off the Justice Department and the FBI from the president, from his Article 2 power that he's chief magistrate and chief law enforcement officer. And that's why your work's been so great. President Trump went over there, I think, on the second and third day into the halls of the DOJ, and Weissman and those guys have never recovered from that. Now you have a situation that we have a judicial revolt, as we're now getting to how his first term was taken from him, right, in a coup, that they're putting the evidence out every day. You see now what's the one thing that's worked for the Democrats is the ability, although they're losing at the highest court, they're slowing things down to delay is to deny. And this is another example of even President Trump getting who he wants in to actually work for him. So this is a dual-pronged approach from the deep state, and also this radical judiciary, which I guess is the legal and judicial arm of the deep state. I want to start here by going back. What is blue slip? I thought President Trump said, hey, look, I'm not crazy about this blue slip. I understand it's custom and tradition. In the old days, we had compromise. It wasn't bad. But this stops President Trump from actually getting U.S. attorneys in blue. And we know that the neo-Confederates run California. They run Los Angeles. They control Illinois and Chicago. They control New York and New York City. And you're not going to deport 10 to 20 million illegal alien invaders. Hell, you just had a guy get shot in the face, right? You're not going to do that unless you have hammers as U.S. attorneys going against these corrupt Marxist, neo-Marxist Democratic politicians, sir. So I thought the blue slip thing was something we kind of waved off a couple of years ago.
So when I was the chief counsel for nominations on the Senate Judiciary Committee, I was able to push very hard for then chairman and now chairman Chuck Grassley to not give blue slip vetoes for federal circuit judge nominees because they touch more than one state. But for U.S. attorney, U.S. marshal, district court judges, like I say, there would be 100 senator revolts if these home state senators lost the ability to hand select the prosecutor who would prosecute their corruption trial, the judge who would oversee the corruption trial, and the U.S. marshal who would escort them to prison. So blue slips for district court, U.S. attorney, and U.S. marshal are not going away probably ever. But for circuit court judges, they lost the veto power. You still have to do consultation with the home state senators before you nominate a federal appellate judge nominee. But that's the reason we confirmed a near record number of judges, including federal appellate judges, in President Trump's first term, is because we got rid of the blue slip veto for federal circuit judges.
You have to understand that. What's the action? Article 3 is on top of this with the president. He's outraged. Alina's done a great job. What is the call to action this morning? Is there anything the posse should do to assist this? This is occurring right now with these 15 of these 17 judges making a decision whether they want to get rid of her or not? Is there anything for the War and Posse to do in coordination with Article 3?
Well, unfortunately, you can't call these judges because, and that makes this is even more weird. You have 17 judges deciding whether the president gets to keep his U.S. attorney in New Jersey, Alina Habba, and there's nothing we can do about it. It shows you how unconstitutional this is. Usually, when the president picks someone, you can call the White House switchboard, or the Senate confirms someone. You can call your home state senators, but you can't really call these judges. So. Again, a total head scratcher.
Okay, but you're on it with the you're with the ethics committee. Is that going to be anything powerful to Hakeem Jeffries, since these guys don't have any ethics? Do they care, or is this something technical you can jam him up that he can't use his powers as minority leader?
It is a clear violation of the House ethics rules for a House member, particularly the top House Democrat, to strong-arm 17 federal judges to fire a United States attorney because that United States attorney brought a federal indictment through a grand jury against a Democrat House member for allegedly assaulting federal immigration officers. That is a clear-cut House ethics violation.
Mike, thank you so much for joining us. I know you got a bolt. We'll follow this one this morning, and hopefully you'll report back this afternoon.
Thank you.
Alina Habab. And by the way, President Trump's done this a lot to have these acting U.S. attorneys